So we have like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Right.
How is your program going?
It was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like researchers and professors on marketing and entrepreneurship
Yeah.
from 18 countries.
Wow.
It's very exciting.
Oh, that should be,
I'm
yeah.
very glad I did this year again. Okay, today I have here Mr. Gerald Zaltman. I'm such a great fan of him because of the ZMET method of marketing research and all his work during all those years. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I would like to start from the beginning. What is marketing for you?
Okay, that's a good question. To me, marketing is an applied social science. That is, the practice of marketing is applied social science. The use of knowledge or insights about how people behave, both in their consumption of goods and services and the ways in which they produce and offer those goods and services. And as an academic, I like to understand the sort of underlying processes of marketing phenomena.
Right.
And so that is also theoretical social science, not just applied social science.
Okay. It's very interesting because to me it's also more like a social science that trying to understand how people behave.
Right.
Before we have to understand how people behave, then try to create something or sell something.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the ZMET method, how it became to the world and how it works?
Yes. It's based on a number of central, well-established human principles. One is that much of our thinking, if not most of it, some say nearly all of it, occurs below awareness. And as a result, there's a lot that we know that we don't know we know.
Okay.
There's a lot that accounts for how we act and how we think that we're just not aware is operating, as well as certain things that are. And one implication of that is if you want to understand how people are thinking, how that affects their behavior, you have to be able to tap into this unconscious pre-awareness dynamic. So that's one. You can't just go and ask people. Another basic principle for ZMET is that a good way of identifying what people think is to use metaphor, to have them describe their thinking or their behavior using other devices. And that's helpful because all metaphors reveal certain things, and they also hide certain things. And people aren't aware of that when they're using a metaphor, and the metaphor is very natural. So we try to have people express their thinking using metaphors, and then we interrogate or question them extensively to find what's being hidden unintentionally and what they're trying to reveal. Another basic premise is that all of us have theories in our minds, theories in use, we call them. That is, core ideas that form a model, a map of our thinking. Again, we're typically not aware of it, but we nevertheless have these maps. And what ZMET tries to do is elicit those maps, how thought A leads to thought B, which leads to thought C.
Right.
It goes back to B, perhaps. And we find it a very productive way of doing it.
Yeah, I remember that example of the pictures, I think in Nepal, when you
Yes.
went there. Can you say a
Yes.
little bit about that? Because
There
it's
are-
like a real life example of...
Yes,
all of this?
for instance, one important result there is we were, first of all, we were interested in how people who have never used a camera before used cameras. And we were in this rural, very remote, really, area of Nepal. We gave people cameras and film. I gave them a little bit of instruction and had them take pictures of various ways of life in their community. And one of the things that we noticed that, let me back up, what anthropologists and sociologists would normally do is take their own pictures of life in a community. And it concerned me that we were seeing what they saw, not necessarily was important,
different, right?
and not what people living there saw as important. And we noticed that in all these pictures, people sitting, standing, engaged with one another by themselves, people's feet were not shown typically in the photographs. And at first we thought, you know, why is that? You know, they just aren't interested in feet. They wanted they didn't know how to use the camera to capture feet. And later, after we collected their film, we went back to Nepal after going to several villages and had the film developed, back to Kathmandu, rather.
Right.
And we had the film developed and came back and gave them copies of their pictures, which they loved. But we asked them to tell the story behind particular pictures.
Right.
And what totally surprised us is that the feet were deliberately cut off. There was a reason for cutting off the feet. And the reason, which we never would have guessed, was that the absence of footwear, of shoes or sandals or coverings for their feet was a major sign of poverty. And they didn't want to embarrass the people that they were taking pictures of by showing that they were poor and that they had no shoes. And so they deliberately cut that off, cut the feet out of the
And
picture.
this is completely different than like marketer researchers have been doing. Like they take pictures. I mean, it's
In
completely
different ways.
different.
It's their ideas about what consumers think, not necessarily the
consumer's
consumer's own ideas. And that's very important. When I used to do a lot of survey research. And what I was really learning in survey research, let's say I'm the researcher, you're the consumer, is what you think about what I think you think about.
Right.
I'm just getting a mirror image of my thinking, and I'm asking you, you know, through your responses.
This have to be with something like with your book, How Customers Think. Because I have one question before we get in the book. What do you think about the methods of marketing research using just surveys and, let's say, focus groups?
Well, I've was trained in survey research and have conducted a large number of focus groups. And so I would not say that those are, don't have a role.
Right.
But they, I believe, are primarily useful for confirming what I already think.
I see.
It needn't always be that way, but it often is. And it doesn't necessarily give me new ways of thinking or identifying concepts that I didn't allow for in the focus group discussion or the survey questionnaire.
Okay.
So if I really want to find some new ideas, some surprises, some things that may not be pleasant surprises, I would like to do in-depth one-on-one interviews.
Yeah. That's the way entrepreneurs do at the beginning when they don't have resources. They use like qualitative methods. It's informal, but it's talking person to person.
I think all methods are qualitative.
Yeah?
I think even a quantitative technique is subjective ultimately. There's nothing more subjective than a number.
Okay.
What's objective is that you can arrive at that number over and over again, but the meaning of the number is very much an interpretation of me or you.
Interesting. It's a new way of thinking of qualitative and okay. Let's get in the book. Should we marketers, should we believe in customers, what they say?
It depends on the method.
Right.
I think we should, we can believe them more if we are allowing them to express their thoughts and feelings without prompting, without guidance, and we spend time with them exploring the ideas they're raising. So I think we can, and we have various ways of validating what we learn in that way. But consumers may not be able to tell us very much about what they would like to be, what could happen.
I see.
And I think marketers have a kind of expertise to know what could happen. So as consumers are talking, we might be attentive to what are they hiding? What are they not talking about? And I think a good research method allows the researcher to look at and understand what people say and what they don't say.
Okay.
And
what
what
they
might
don't
be
say
present,
is something to
and what they don't say
investigate.
could be very important, and
Right.
it might be where a new product concept lives, or where an advertising campaign, an idea for an advertising positioning, a statement or theme might be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what this book is about. It's how customers think.
Right.
Okay. Getting to the end, I just want to talk with you a little bit about your last book. How can I have better thoughts? Because I'm really interested in this theme. I used to try to have better thoughts, but I'm still learning, and I would like to hear from you.
Okay, well, I'm still learning too, so I know what that's like. Most of our attention when we're in discussion with family, friends, with business colleagues, and with consumers focuses on what we think, the content of my opinion, my belief, my reason for doing whatever I do. We don't typically focus on how did I arrive at that opinion to begin with, or how did I arrive at that, or how did I form that belief? What are the thought mechanisms, like the way I allocate my attention, that determine my thoughts? How do I deal with uncertainty and curiosity? Those are elements of how we think. How does memory, especially the kinds of memory that are fluid, that may not be true, how do those influence what I think? We don't, even though there are psychology courses dealing with how people think, we don't typically give that much attention.
Right.
And I wanted in this new book called Unlocked to bring people back to examine how they arrive at their ideas to begin with. And it's a tricky process.
Yeah.
It's hard.
We're all still learning.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Mr. Zaltman, it was like a really, really pleasure. It was a delight for me to meet you in person. I'm such a great, great fan of your work. And now I'm a great fan as a person because you are a delightful person. Thank you so much for having this time with me and hope to see you again next year.
That would be wonderful.
Okay,
I'd
thank you very
enjoy
much.
that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.